Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for stopping by to check out my latest video. And today I'm here with a cute little kinetic card share for spring to share with you guys. And I'm also going to do kind of a quick cutting die review and also a small amount of tutorial on how to put this card together. First of all, I just want to share the card with you. Here is the front of the card. Just layered up some gorgeous paper, and I will of course go through all of the supplies that I use after this. I did add a little die cut that said hello, and then the paper had the word spring on it, so hello spring. When you open up this really cute card, it is, like I said, a kinetic card, and it almost wants to pop up right away. You can kind of see that. And when you open it up, it pops up, and there is the inside. Very cute. I added some little like insects, butterflies and ladybugs, and I chose to use, instead of like a red ladybug, I chose to use more spring colors, the pastel colors, pink, and then instead of black on these, I chose to use kind of a gray color, even on the dragonfly and the butterfly. It's all, and the bumblebee also, it's a gray instead of black. And then I did stamp the words, wishing you a day filled with good things. And then the card again, you know, goes down like this. And one more time to pop up. And I'll let you look at the side of it, the top. And I do know that there are tutorials out there on how to make this style of card without a cutting die. It's been a long time since I've watched any of them or seen them. And I do have a cutting die for it. So I will show you that along with the other supplies that I use. And then I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to put the guts of the card together, not the actual whole card, because I think most of you guys know how to layer up paper and everything, but I wanted to show you guys after you hear my experience about this cutting die, in case you happen to have it yourself. Maybe this video will be helpful for you guys. So as far as supplies goes, just to show you real quick from the card, this cute little sentiment came from Hero Arts. And let's see, this one does have a number. It's called Good Things Message. It's C2826, I believe is what it says. I don't have my reading glasses on, so not 100% on that. On the front, I did have this cutting die right here, the one that I used, the pink and the off-white kind of label die. And that one is a Sizzix die, Thinlits die called Ornate Labels, and it's a Lori Whitlock brand. I love this die. I use it quite a bit. I also love just this little piece right here to use for labels in, you know, different card making in my junk journals. And along with this, I use it quite a bit. And that's kind of what it looks like again on the back side. The little hello that I have on the front is part of this set, and it's a Spellbinders, and it's called Phrase Set 2. I think I have the packaging in here for that one. Yeah, it came off of this one right here. And the number is right up there. The cute little bugs that I used on the inside was from this Sizzix die from Linda Canas, I think. And there's the number. Again, this is a Sizzix die, but that Linda is the artist on it. It was a fun little one. I hadn't used this one before. And then real quick, I just want to show you guys the paper that I use. So the front of this, the spring paper, did come from this American Crafts umbrella paper pad. It's kind of a fun little summer pad or spring pad. And then the other coordinating like polka dot paper that I used inside up here, that paper is from Bo Bunny, and it's from this Harmony collection. Then the final product that I used is from LDRS Creative. It's a twirling pop-up die kit. And it is the cutting dies like this to create the pop-up mechanism. And it does come with instructions. I did purchase this at a rummage sale. I paid $1. I have to tell you guys, I am glad that I only paid $1 for this cutting die. Not because it was cheap, but man, this cutting die was a pain in the rear end. We'll just say that. And I'm curious to know if anybody else has any cutting dies from LDRS Creative, if they're easy to use or not, or if it just happened to be a fluke with the instructions, because this was a really hard cutting die. And I've done a lot of mechanical cards, kinetic type cards. I've put them together before, had never had really any issues. I've put a lot of cards together, like mechanical, kinetic cards, even without cutting dies. And I have to tell you that this one was not a fun die. The first day I cut everything out and I was trying to put it together and I just couldn't figure it out. So I gathered up all of my cut up pieces and I brought the instructions up to the house because obviously creating in my craft room that's separate. And I had my husband read them without me saying anything, and I just said, and I brought my tape up and stuff, and I said, can you put this card together? And he sat and looked at it and looked at the instructions, and I had an understanding of how it should go, and I was trying to, after he tried it, and he's like something doesn't make sense on the instructions, and I said, exactly. So a couple of things that was goofy is they don't really tell you when you fold whether it's supposed to be mountain fold or valley fold. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. And you guys are going to see a little bit of my handwriting next to some of these because I did write on them so that if I choose to use this cutting die again, I have instructions. And I'm also going to include in my little container right here, I'm going to have a sample of it so that I remember how I put it together, because like I said, it was like the instructions were really bad, I thought. And so that was the first mistake on here, is they don't really tell you if it's mountain fold. Right here it says hills and valleys for this part, which that's was pretty easy, that part, putting the pop-up this part right here together, that was no big deal. But this part, I just couldn't tell. I mean, if you look at it, obviously I wrote that it's mountain fold now, but when you look at it, you don't know that. And then when you look at how this goes together, the way they have it folded, that's what didn't make sense. So that was kind of the first little, I don't understand because of how it looks here on the instructions. I felt like this little piece should have been in the middle and not showing all the way on the top. So that was part of the instructions. And then I think they gave the wrong size for how to cut the paper, or fold it, I guess, maybe is the better terminology. And so that was part of it. And then it just took a little while to figure out exactly where to glue and different things on the little mechanism on the middle part. But like I said, today is now the third day that I am trying to work on this card. The first day I spent a couple hours and I gave up on it. Yesterday I had it figured out, but then I didn't feel like recording anything yesterday after I did figure it out. And I did actually find another video from someone on YouTube, and I will link her channel below because she does have instructions on there on how she put hers together. It doesn't look like she has an active channel anymore because it was from several years ago. She hasn't posted videos, but I will link hers so you can kind of watch her instructions also. And for those of you, like I said, if you happen to have this cutting die and have never used it, maybe you want to follow along and just make a sample for future reference. And that's definitely what I would recommend doing. Also, for the mechanism in the inside, I do recommend using very thick cardstock, but maybe the first time you want to make it, you might find it helpful just to use like some lightweight paper just to try it out so that you make sure you have it kind of understood. So I am going to now dig out my different pieces, and you can see I have lots of samples all over my desk of me trying to figure out this silly little card. Like I said, I love how it turned out. I'm just not very happy with the way the factory instructions are. I felt like they could have done a lot better of a job of describing it. And so the first thing you are going to do is obviously cut out your pieces. So here is the one main piece. That's the mechanism one that gave me all the trouble. And what I would recommend doing is once you've cut it out, and if you're going to fold it, you can see that there's this X in the middle. That's where I would start first. You're going to fold it kind of down right here. And then you're also going to fold it the other way on the X. See if you can zoom in just a little bit more. I want to make sure I stay in frame here. So that's the first part, is folding just the X. Now, again, it really wasn't clear in the instructions which way to fold the middle piece. And when I was first making it, I folded it kind of both ways, but it is a mountain fold. So fold it. And it will be helpful also to have a bone folder. I just don't happen to have one sitting here right now. But just to make sure that your creases are very pronounced, I guess. So now we have this little mechanism that looks like this. So when looking at the instructions that the factory included, when you fold it, it looks like it's supposed to be on top of these two pieces, and it's actually supposed to be in the middle of these two pieces when they're folded. And like I said, that's where I first started going wrong on the instructions, because you know, you look like you're following them, and it looks like this is supposed to lay on top when in fact it's supposed to be laying in the middle, and they were not clear on that. You know, knowing that, then it's supposed to be more in the middle. You know, it looks like the instructions, it's supposed to look like this. And that's, like I said, how it was kind of confusing. But instead, what you do is you're going to take these two wings and you're going to push them towards each other in the middle. You know, and if they would have said that in the instructions, it would have been like so clear. Like I said, when you look at the card, it looks like it shouldn't be that difficult to make. You know, and so it's supposed to be folded this way with the piece in the middle, but it's just, when they highlighted it the several different colors, I think that that's kind of what was so confusing about it. So again, if it's, you know, you've done your folds and it's laying like this, you do want to bring the two little wings up towards each other. And you want them in the middle. That's kind of the big thing. So next you are going to fold this other cutting die. That is this middle piece right here, or again, I'll show you the actual cutting dies. This was the mechanism that we just folded, this long one. They have some extra little pieces in there. And then this is the piece that you are going to need, right, this one right here. It does come with some nice little frames that definitely will work well for different types of cards. So you fold this, you want a mountain fold in the middle and valley folds for the rest of it. So that one's pretty easy. Followed nice along with the instructions. So now we go on to step 2, adhering the mechanism to the card base. And so they have you put this whole mechanism in there, but I honestly would skip step 2 and go straight to step 3 and put the mechanism in and then put it into your card. That's just my personal preference. And so what you're going to do then, so we have this piece right here. So you can see that there are, on the cutting dies, the angles are already cut that way. So there's one on this side, and then if you flip it over, there's one on this side. So on this side, you are going to want to put tape on the sides that have the little angles. And you want it about the same width of the little panels right here. So you are going to want some sort of strong tape. For today's video, I'm just going to use this Express It tape, but I do highly recommend, if you have it, the red line tape, which is even stronger. Again, this is just a sample. I'm not going to use this on a card or anything, so I'm just going to use it again for a sample. And I want it just slightly less than the size of the width of this, of one of the panels. And so you are going to put some tape then right up here. And I am just going to trim it off so that it matches the die. I am just going to cut off that little bit of excess that I have overhanging. So we put tape right here on the side that has the angle. I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same side again. When I flip it over, I have the little angled piece again. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the tape. Again, I'm just going to slightly measure on here so that it's, you know, slightly less than the size of the width of that little panel. And again, I'm just going to add tape. And I'm just going to cut off the excess again because I went over. So we have tape on that side and tape on that side. And while you're taping items, go ahead and we're going to add tape here and also tape here. You can add up in this little point, this triangle point, you can add some little tape up there if you want. And right before I attach it to the card, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on it. I just don't want to waste my tape. So, but again, I would probably put the red line tape up here on both sides, up in the corner, or the little pointed triangle piece that I would put some tape there also. But again, I'm just going to use some glue for the video today. So after you have taped everything, we're going to go back and look at instruction step 2. Again, I skipped over this I kind of skipped over a little bit of it, this part, because I thought it was easier to put the mechanism in at the end where they had you taping this last once it was in the card. But like I said, I found it easier to put in afterwards. And also the other thing about this step that I didn't think was correct is the way they have their card. They tell you to, they said 4 1/4 by 11 inches this way and to score the line. And I do have this from their instructions. So there's an 11-inch piece of paper and 4 1/4. So when you do fold it on the score line, how they have you do it, the next thing that I noticed was that when you put the mechanism in there, it's bigger than what it's supposed to be. So instead, this is what I would do, and this is what I did do. I cut my paper 8 1/2 inches long by 5 1/2, and then when you fold it, this is what you got. You got 4 1/4 here, 5 1/2. And if you look at them, you can see that the cards are exactly the same. It just, the fold should be, it should be this way, in my opinion. So that when you put the mechanism in, it's going to fit in the card. And so then that's the next step, is putting this in here. But we are going to go ahead and glue this down first before we stick it in here. And I should have done that before I started talking about the card base, so I do apologize for that. The other thing I found helpful is you do take your little panel here and you do want to find the middle. And so I did make a mark in the middle on the back side. You want to use pencil or very light marking because you will want to probably get rid of that before you put it in your card. But for today's video, I just put a mark right in the middle. You can kind of see there's the middle. And so now we're going to go ahead and attach it to our tape pieces. And again here, so what I found helpful is I have that middle mark. One of these, which is the one on the left, I'm going to glue that or tape it down underneath the middle mark. And this one's going to get, the one on the right is going to be glued or taped down above your middle mark. So go ahead, take your tape off. So again, this one's getting glued or taped below your middle mark. And then I find it helpful to open up the whole piece so it's kind of flat while I'm gluing it, so I can kind of see where my middle fold is. And I'm making sure that this one is glued or taped below that middle mark. And again, we only have the tape on half of it, just the half that has the angle on it. And so this part, I'm going to tell you guys, it does feel very awkward when you do it. So now take off the tape on the other side, and this one's going to get taped above. So again, I have tape right here. You can see my middle mark. And so I'm going to tape that above that middle mark and just flatten it down. And you can see that it's parallel right here. For some reason it's not. You can just snip it off. And then if your folds are all right, then you can kind of push in gently for this first time or two. You want to push them gently towards each other. And then when they're kind of pushed towards each other, you're going to just twist it so that it lies flat. And that's how it lies flat. So you're basically putting, here's another sample right here. So I mean, basically your piece is kind of going in between the two is what it's supposed to kind of look like. And that is the mechanism. So like I said, it's not very complicated, but the instructions were so complicated that it made, like I said, it made my head swim and hurt and everything. So now here is your basic card. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to glue it inside. And I find it helpful to do one side at a time just to make sure it meets up with its perfect mate or match. And so you can make a choice whether you want to put the bottom one or the top one down. It doesn't really matter. You also maybe want to figure out where the middle of your card is. I'm just going to guesstimate, but if you want to be precise, you know, mark the middle of your little triangle up here, and then you're going to match it up to here. So this one does want to get glued on the top, so I'm going to do that one first. I'm also going to add just a little bit of extra glue up here since I chose not to tape it. I'm also going to add a little extra glue where there isn't any of the tape adhesive. So I'm just going to set this down, and I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see my placement better. So you can see where my card is folding. And so this is just going to go, like I said, you want to find the middle, but again, I'm just approximating. And you want to make sure that when you fold it, it's up close to the line, but not exactly on the line underneath it. You can see I'm very close to that center fold. And you just want to make sure it looks parallel, everything looks nice. And I'm just going to then fold this top down. Again, you guys will just have to ignore my little, this is mine, just because I am going to put this one in with the original instructions, and then also with their instructions, just so then I can keep it straight for the next time if I make this card again. So then I'm just going to give it a second to just make sure it's attached nicely. And so when you open it up, it's going to look like this. I am now just going to flip it over this way, upside down. So this would be the back of the card. And I'm going to take off my tape. Again, I'm just going to add a little bit more glue on the spots where I don't have any tape showing. This is the type of card that's going to be opened and closed several times, so you just want to make sure you have really good adhesive. So again, I'm just going to gently close the back side of the card down. I'm going to give it a second or two to attach before I open it up and show you guys. And then again, when you open it up, then it should work nicely like this. I think that's really cute and I like it, but like I said, it was not a very fun card to put together. So again, here is the fun little card that I created using that cutting die and the inside. I do love how it turned out. I'm just not very happy with the way the instructions were on this cutting die. And like I said, I would be curious. This is I think the only die I have that's from LDRS Creative, I think. Maybe I have one more that I picked up when I picked this one up at a rummage sale. I'm not sure. I'll have to go through and look. But I wasn't very, like I said, impressed with the instructions on it. Again, I'd be curious to know if anybody else has any of these dies with the mechanical or kinetic cards, if they go together nice or not, just so if I happen to see any more at future rummage sales, or if they're worth buying or not, or if they're a headache to put together like this one was. For those of you guys that don't follow my channel very often, I was fortunate enough back in, I think it was 2020, I went to a rummage sale and a lady was selling her aunt's cutting dies. And this is one of the ones that I picked up, along with a ton of other cutting dies, and they were cheap. I think all of her cutting dies she sold for $1. Also, she had like rubber stamps that were $1.50. She had like whole 3-ring binders full of like the unmounted rubber stamps. Again, those were just a couple of bucks. I mean, I made out like a bandit at this rummage sale. And she was also selling her aunt's, because her aunt had passed away, she was also selling her aunt's yarn. And this was like, a lot of it was very high-end yarn, the yarns that were, you know, between $8 and $15 a skein back then in 2022, because I did look them up. And so I did buy also a lot of yarn at that rummage sale for my mom, because she does knit and crochet. If I can find, I'm pretty sure I did a haul on that one. And if I can happen to find that, I will leave that like linked at the end in one of the like recommended videos, if I can find it, just in case you guys are curious to check out what other cutting dies I found, because it was a great rummage sale. And I believe that a lot of her dies were bought at like the Home Shopping Network, is what I was told by the lady that was selling this stuff. So yeah, that's my little story. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. And for those of you who have the cutting die, like I said, I'd be curious to know if you guys have used it, what you thought of the instructions, etc. So again, thanks so much for watching. And until next time, have a wonderful day and happy crafting.